Right, Assalamualaikum everyone. Hope everybody is doing well. Today is the first day of Eid, and I just wanted to wish everybody very blissful Eid Mubarak, Bakrid. I personally don't celebrate Bakrid. Reason being that I'm uh, I cannot see that bloodshed and slaughtering and whatnot. So मैं तो bloodshed and सब चीज़ों से I try to stay away from that. But uh, that's not the purpose of this video. Uh, what happens is that when you have nobody else to talk to, you don't have people who can counsel you or counsel you in an appropriate manner, or you don't have a lot of friends who you could talk to. So people like me decide to talk to the world and share our experiences, not because we like to hear ourselves talk, but because these experiences essentially can make a difference in an individual's life. So I just wanted to share experiences with reference to a person's marital life. And in that line, I just wanted to mention that what kills a marriage. Uh, there are three or five pointers here which essentially would kill your marriage. To begin with, the first thing that can influence your marriage is lack of communication. So if you don't communicate enough, and if you don't talk enough, and if you feel that you can put qualifiers on speech that you talk too much, or this is like I can't bear more than this, or if the person is speaking, instead of listening quietly and intently, you just walk out of the room. Uh, that basically is a vital ingredient which can lead to a marital collapse, or at least damage your marriage or dent your marriage to begin with. Secondly, is it is going into what you called an isolation mode. Isolation mode is where you're two partners, you're living under the same roof, but you're not talking to each other. So you have the same kitchen, and you have you're sharing your kids at the same time, but you're not talking with each other. So imagine this, the situation here that you're with your partner, you're living under the same roof. The world is under the impression that it's a marriage, and they're happy, and they're doing what they're just working out fine. But deep inside your body, it's like your your organs are failing. So you might be all lit up from the outside, but deep inside your body, your organs are failing. But that has not reflected on the outside. That basically is very instrumental in downsizing your marriage, and sometimes can even lead to a collapse. So that is something which is going in an isolation mode, not talking to each other, virtually not talking to each other, but living under the same roof. So the marital rituals like making a cup of tea or having an omelette in the morning, and maybe if you're lucky you get a meal in the night, uh, all that continues. But overall, there is no marriage because you're living under the same roof, uh, under the ambit of a routine. So everything that you see and you experience is based on a foundation of routine, because you don't want the routine to be altered. Why? Because humans have this ability to maintain a certain level of inertia. That is my routine for today. I don't want this to be disturbed. Then the same thing would carry forward the very next day, because whenever we disturb inertia, uh, you get into a lot of mental stress. Um, it's like surgery. So there is initial stress, and then later on the pain eases. But for that, you need a lot of family support. Um, some people have that, some people don't. People typically with smaller families don't get that kind of support as vis-a-vis people with large families. But anyways, the second point that I wanted to emphasize again is this isolation mode, or your partner not talking to each other, to you at all. um, and you get that cup of tea. Usually you don't even have to make it yourself. So it's out there in the thermos, and you just make the cup of tea and whatnot. So So there is that. The third thing is that your partner stops sleeping with you. Now, sleeping with your partner, it means two things. A, you're not engaging or you're not eloping with your partner. You're not going in a physical bonding with your partner. So that's one part. And the second part is you're literally not sleeping with your partner. So the partner is actually sleeping between the kids. And if this goes on for a month, probably you can say that this is a passing time, and things get better with time. But if that happens persistently, that is something which is very worrisome. So if your partner gets into this habit, and then eventually what happens is that both partners get into this habit of sleeping on different beds, and that combined with no communication, combined with that isolation, and then that little time in the night that you get, usually is maybe it's 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour before after the kids go to sleep, and then after, and between that and then the other side is when you go to sleep. So let's say your kids go to sleep at 11 o'clock, and then you go to sleep at 12 o'clock, so you get that 1 hour. So that 1 hour is very important to make communication, uh, to make to make bonding, and to somehow rebuild on things which are crooked or they have cracks in them. So it's an important point. So what you can do is you can rebuild your day in that 1 hour or 1.5 hour that you get, and you can communicate, and you can even be angry at each other as long as um, it's fine. I mean, as long as there is no physical violence or profanity, but you can be angry at each other. You can't put checks and balances on your partner. That if your partner stops talking to you, um, I mean, if you that's bad. And if your partner starts talking to you, and your partner keeps talking to you, you can't say, I've had enough of you, and I'm just going to go ahead and close my ears, and I'm going to shut the door on your face, and I'm going to go to sleep, or I'll probably put out my headsets and get lost in my mobile phone and whatnot. So it is very important that communication does not have any checks and balances. You can't limit communication. Communication is something that you can do the whole night. So you should have the tendency to talk to your partner the whole night, and that is why you call your partner your better half, because your better half has the tendency and should have the tendency and the capability to speak for a longer period of time, instead of uh, snapping back at you and saying that what's your point, you speak to the point, and this is so what exactly are you trying to say, and that's about it, and I've got other things to do. And so it's very important to provide or to give undivided attention to your partner, which usually doesn't happen in a failed marriage, because in failed marriage you're measuring everything. It's like you have a scale in your hand and you're measuring the time, and you've got a watch and you've got a clock, and you're like, you've been speaking for 10 minutes, or you've been speaking for 25 minutes, and then the other person would be reluctant to go any further. So you can't pour out your heart if you're putting a stopwatch to everything. That's very important. So these are a few things that I just wanted to share. um, of course, physical intimacy is also very, very important. But physical intimacy can only happen if there is communication. Without communication, physical intimacy is a very animal-like, and it can be embarrassing as well, because you're going to your partner and your partner is not ready for you. So it's going to make you feel pretty guilty later on, that you know what happened and why it happened, and eventually, because it's everything is connected to the mind, the pleasure of physical intimacy is going to go down so hard that you're not going to feel anything. You're hardly going to feel anything. So there is physical intimacy as well. um, of course, then there are other factors as well. For example, you need to relax yourself in front of your partner. If one person is aggressive, the other person should stay quiet and don't snap back with an answer for everything that the person has to say. And then if the other person is talking, then the person, the main one person can stay quiet. So it's like if both people are, you know, talking at the same time, this is going to create uh, or escalate the situation to an extent where things can get pretty ugly. So it's very important for one, if one person is speaking, the other should stay quiet, or house husbands for that matter, is that when their uh, when their common law or their maid comes out and he comes from the office and he's at home, you need to give that person some time and you need to give that person comfort. See, why men get married essentially is because of comfort, because they want a pair of ears to who they could just pour out to, because there's stuff out there. It's not easy, yeah. So when you go talk to and you can connect with, but if you are going to make uh, absolute isolation, then you can never be successful at whatever you do, because you look up to that partner and you're like, all right, fine, I've had a tough day. The roads were crooked, it was raining, it was there was no electricity. uh, I had to get my car refueled, maintain, I had to do the budgeting and financing and whatnot. But here I have my house where I come home and I have comfort, and I've got a pair of ears who could listen to me without any checks and balances. So I can go on forever and they would listen to me. So, body language, the lady should be able to read the man's body language and understand that this guy is lonely and he needs somebody to listen to him. And that usually doesn't happen. What happens is that a baseless marriage loses its spark, so there is no communication. There is a lot of aggression as well. So if you are going to be hard on your partner is going to snap back at you with an even uh, greater intensity. So if, for example, if you slap your partner is going to come and slap you back with twice the intensity. So your partner is not going to sit quiet and pretend. See, it's stuff out there when men work and or females when they work and they when they come back, uh, whoever the partner is at home. And I don't want to sound sexist here, so I can understand that females work as well. When they come home, they want their peace, and peace doesn't mean the guy or the girl being in a separate room. Of course, isolation may be required for some time, but generally, peace would mean that, you know, just sharing your day, how your day went, um, how things went, and uh, whatever you feel in your heart, and you need to make sure that you have the right time and place, and you're prepared to listen. There should be a section in the house where you could just sit down and you could listen and you can talk. um, you know surprise. So I mean, there's a lot called that, like a linchpin, so it's like